Shalom, shalom, shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Salute, giving all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Happy 7th month, Israel. We are in the 7th month now. We know the number 7 biblically represents and symbolizes completion. The Most High made everything in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested. Completion, right? It's a also the number 7 represents that the cyclical week, because it's a 7-day cycle. Okay, a continuous 7-day cycle, and on the 7th day you rest, worship, and study. Okay, so we're gonna look at certain scriptures that of the 7th month. Okay, certain scriptures that's dealing with the 7th month and what happened on the 7th month. Certain significant things that happen in the scriptures in the 7th month. Let's see some like significance in this. And that's a good way to acknowledge the new moon. Go over scriptures of things that happened in our history in the 7th month or in whatever month, right? That's a good way to rehearse righteous acts, right? And also to rehash our history and know, the things that were going on, month by month, right, in Israel. Right, so the first scripture we're going to go over is Genesis, the 8th chapter, starting at verse 4. And it reads, "And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat." So this is the first occurrence of the 7th month being named and something that happened within it. Why is this significant? Because what ark is this? It's talking about Noah's ark. Noah's ark came to rest in Mount Ararat on the 7th month, right? In the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month. Okay, so we got double sevens there. We got 7th month, 17th day of the month, right? These things are significant, right? In that, the journey that that whole flood and how Noah was just out there and it's just all water. Was completed on the 7th month. Okay, now the ark has hitched into land, well, a mountain, right? And now the waters are more receding to the point where the ark is not just sailing around on water and there's nothing for it to hitch onto. So the flood completion was in the 7th month. Moving on, the book of 1 Kings, chapter 8. I'm going to start at verse 1, but the point is in verse 2. "Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Israel, unto King Solomon in Jerusalem, that they might bring up the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of the city of David, which is Zion." Verse 2. "And all the men of Israel assembled themselves unto King Solomon at the feast in the month Ethanim, which is the 7th month." Okay, so right here we get the name of the 7th month, Ethanim. Okay, and what's happening? All the elders of Israel, the heads of the tribes, all the chief men of the families, right, they're gathering themselves unto King Solomon in Jerusalem because they're going to partake and celebrate and convocate over a high holy day, okay, in the 7th month, right? Most likely it will be like Feast of Trumpets, depending on what day, because Feast of Trumpets comes the first day of the month of the 7th month, right? And then we have the Feast of we got Day of Atonement, then we have Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, so the 7th month has 3 high holy days, okay, within it, and number 3 represent holy. So just reading on verse 3, "And all the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark, and they brought up the ark of the Lord and the tabernacle of the congregation, and all the holy vessels that were in the tabernacle, even those did the priests and the Levites bring up. And King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel that were assembled unto him were with him before the ark, sacrificing sheep and oxen that could not be told nor numbered for multitude. Right, so they were offering their holy sacrifices, right? And it wasn't able to count it. It was innumerable. That is charity right there. That is the proper offering to give to the Most High. Selfless, not thinking about number, right? You're giving all. You're giving your all, okay? Being very charitable, right? To, get that supplication from the Most High and that forgiveness, okay? And kind of trying to bring yourself closer to the Most High through giving these offerings. All right, moving on. 2 Kings chapter 25 verse 22, it reads, And as for the people that remained in the land of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon had left, even over them he made Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, ruler. And when all the captains of the armies, they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah governor, there came to Gedaliah to Mizpah, even Ishmael the son of Nethaniah, and Johanan the son of Kareah, and Seraiah the son of Tanhumeth the Netophathite, and Jazaniah the son of Mahakathite, they and their men. And Gedaliah sware to them and to their men, and said unto them, Fear not to be the servants of the Chaldees. Dwell in the land, and serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. So this brother right here, Gedaliah, is a sellout, right? You can see it right here in this verse, right? Fear not to be a servant. Right? Is Israel a servant? Is Israel a homeborn slave? Right? Why are you spoiled? Like it says in the book of Isaiah. So Gedaliah, he wants us to swear fealty to the king of Babylon, to swear loyalty to the king of Babylon, right? So yeah, I wouldn't be following this guy, Gedaliah. Okay, so reading on, verse 25. But it came to pass in the 7th month that Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, the son of Elishama, of the seed royal, came, and 10 men with him, and smote Gedaliah, that he died, and the Jews and the Chaldees that were with him at Mizpah. So brother Ishmael came along now, and he's of that seed royal, right? That royal line of Judah, right? Kingship, king's lineage, right? So Ishmael come along, and he's with 10 men, right? He came along with 10 men. That 10 represent Most High judgment, right? And smote Gedaliah. He came to kill Gedaliah, get rid of him, get that sellout out of here, and them Jews who was following him, right? And the Jews and the Chaldees that were with him at Mizpah, right? So he slew Gedaliah, number one sellout, and then them other Hebrews that was with him, plus the heathen, the Chaldees, right? Reading on, verse 26, and all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldees, right? They scared. They ain't got that power of the Most High with them, that faith, right? They gotta flee. But yeah, that's it on that one. So that's significant, that what happened there, how Gedaliah the sellout was he was taken down by Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah of the seed royal. Moving on, 1 Chronicles chapter 27. 1 Chronicles chapter 27 is the names of the captains of the armies for each month. So we're in the 7th month, so we're at verse 10, reading about the 7th captain. 1 Chronicles 27 and 10. The 7th captain for the 7th month was Helez the Pelonite of the children of Ephraim, and in his course were 24,000. So he had 24,000 at his beck and call, 24,000 soldiers ready, Right, let's just look up that name, Helez, real quick. Helez means he has saved, right? And it says, an Ephraimite, one of the 30 of David's mighty warriors, leader of the 7th monthly course. Okay, a man of Judah, son of Azariah, right? So that's Helez. It's good to look up the names too. The names have significance, right? Now moving on, in the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 7 and verse 10. That's what the point is, but I'm going to read up some verses. I'm going to start at verse 8. Also at the same time, Solomon kept the feast 7 days, and all Israel with him, a very great congregation, from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt. And in the 8th day they made a solemn assembly, for they kept the dedication of the altar 7 days, and the feast 7 days. And on the 23rd day of the 7th month, he sent the people away into their tents, glad and merry in heart, for the goodness that the Lord had showed unto David and to Solomon and to Israel his people. So Solomon sent the people off into their tents. So what were they celebrating? This is the 7th month, right? We got to add things up, right? And use inference skills. 7th month. And it was like 23rd day of the month. They were keeping Feast of Tabernacles because he sent them away into their tents glad. Now, before this, I suggest you guys read over this chapter because it's a very good chapter. It talks about how when Solomon when he finished praying, the fire came down from heaven. You know, very miraculous and wondrous things happened, you know, because Solomon made it a very great feast, a great celebration, a great gathering of Israel. But yeah, this is another good 7th month scripture and things that transpired therewith. Now next is looking into the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 31. Start from verse 1. Now when all this was finished, all Israel that were present went out to the cities of Judah, and brake the images in pieces, and cut down the groves, and threw down the high places and the altars out of all Judah and Benjamin, and Ephraim also, and Manasseh, until they had utterly destroyed them all. Then all the children of Israel returned, every man to his possession, into their own cities. So what's going on here is all of Israel is getting rid of their idols, right? So like, yeah, they're getting rid of their idols, right? All that, them images, them graven images, right? And they're cutting down these groves, right? The grove is basically a man-made place of trees, right? They'll plant the trees in certain places, go there and be praying or whatnot. Okay, something similar to that is like that show Game of Thrones, and if you ever seen it, they go and they pray to a tree, right? And then it looked like they made the carving of a face into the tree, and then like you see like blood coming from the eyes of the face or image that they carved into the tree. All right, reading on 2 Chronicles 31 and 2. And Hezekiah appointed the courses of the priests and the Levites after their courses, every man according to his service, the priests and Levites for burnt offerings and for peace offerings, to minister and to give thanks, and to praise in the gates of the tents of the Lord. He appointed also the king's portion of his substance for the burnt offerings, to wit, for the morning and evening burnt offerings, and the burnt offerings for the Sabbaths, and for the new moons, and for the set feasts, as it is written in the law of the Lord. Moreover, he commanded the people that dwelt in Jerusalem to give the portion of the priests and the Levites, that they might be encouraged in the law of the Lord. So they're commanding the people to give, right? Give their tithe, give their offerings to the Levites, okay? Because that's how the Levites were getting paid. That's what they lived off of. Okay, they had to live off of us. They served us. That's what a priest does. They serve. Okay, so the people who the priests are serving, right, and carrying out these righteous acts and holy acts for, the people must supply the priests with goods and resources to keep them going, right? All right, reading on verse 5. And as soon as the commandment came abroad, the children of Israel brought in abundance the first fruits of corn, wine, and oil, and honey, and all of the increase of the field, and the tithe of all things brought they in abundantly. You got to be generous when you're giving. Charitable, right? Out of faith, hope, and charity, charity is greatest of them all, right? That's in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Think about like the last verse. Reading on, verse 6. And concerning the children of Israel and Judah that dwelt in the cities of Judah, they also brought in the tithe of oxen and sheep, and the tithe of holy things which were consecrated unto the Lord their God, and laid them by heaps. So Israel is bringing these things in by heaps. Verse 7. This is the point, because we're dealing with 7th month scriptures. So 2 Chronicles 31 verse 7. In the 3rd month they began to lay the foundation of the heaps, and finished them in the 7th month. So they began bringing all of their oblations and offerings and things for the priests in the 3rd month, right? 3 represent holy. That's when they began this righteous act, right? And rehearsing this righteous acts of bringing offering in a charitable way, right? So in the 3rd month, they began to lay the foundation of the heaps, right? So this is piled on top of, right? Heaps on top of heaps, right? Pile on top of pile, right? Innumerable, right? And finish them in the 7th month. Okay, that marks that completion, okay, through the Spirit. So the 3rd month holy starts the beginning, and then they were done in the 7th month, marking that completion. Moving on. We'll read here in the book of Ezra, the 3rd chapter, you could just start from verse 1, because the point is in verse 6. But let's get some background. And when the 7th month was come, and the children of Israel were in the cities, the people gathered themselves together as one man to Jerusalem. Okay, so obviously as the 7th month comes, we know the first day of the 7th month is a high holy day, and that is the feast of trumpets, okay, where we blow the horns. It says, and Israel must gather, right, on one accord. Verse 2. Then stood up Jeshua the son of Josadak and his brethren the priests, and Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel and his brethren, and builded the altar of the God of Israel, to offer burnt offerings thereon, as it is written in the law of Moses, the man of God. And they set the altar upon his bases, for fear was upon them because of the people of those countries. And they offered burnt offerings thereon unto the Lord, even burnt offerings morning and evening. So they went and set up that altar where they're going to make the sacrifice, that brazen altar, right? And we make the sacrifice. Verse 4, they kept also the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, Feast of Tabernacles is kept in the 7th month. Reading on. As it is written. Written where? In Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and in the law, right? In the first 5 books, in the law, Leviticus and Deuteronomy. And offered the daily burnt offerings by number, according to the custom, as the duty of every day required. Okay, because the priests were, that was their daily duty, right? To always be offering up the burnt offerings and sacrifices to the Most High daily. Verse 5, and afterward offered the continual burnt offering, both of the new moons and of all the set feasts of the Lord that were consecrated, and of every one that willingly offered a free will offering unto the Lord. So right here it says, very significant, and afterward offered the continual burnt offering, both of the new moons, right? Why does it say new moons? Because there's not just a 7th new month or new moon, but you have 1st, 2nd, 3rd, all the way to the 12th. Okay, but the 7th new moon, new month, first day of the month, is the only one that is actually a high holy day, a Sabbath, right? a day of rest where it's like a holy day, right? Where you can't work, can't buy and sell, right? That's the 7th month. Well, a lot of brothers don't keep it that way. They keep all new moons as a Sabbath day. That's fine. It is what it is. Okay. Most High is the judge at the end of the day. Reading on, verse 6. From the first day of the 7th month began they to offer burnt offerings unto the Lord. But the foundation of the temple of the Lord was not yet laid. Okay, so from that first day of the 7th month, that's when they began to offer the burnt offerings unto the Lord. Okay, but the temple still wasn't built yet. Right, the foundation of the temple still was not laid. That cornerstone. Okay, all right. So moving on. In the book of Nehemiah, chapter 8, I'm gonna start from verse 1. And it reads, And all the people gathered themselves together as one man into the street that was before the water gate. And they spake unto Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moses, which Yahweh had commanded to Israel. Right, so all the people came together in one accord, right? And they wanted to hear the word of the Most High, right? They wanted to read that book, something that they don't do in the churches today. Verse 2. This is the point, because we're dealing with 7th month scriptures. Verse 2, And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both of men and women, and all that could hear with understanding upon the first day of the 7th month. So he brought it. They all came together, right? Because this was a law that we all had to gather, right? At certain times, right? Certain feasts. And this is one of them. This is the first day of the 7th month, which is Feast of Trumpets. Okay, so this is what we're acknowledging and basically coming together for and congregating about. I'll read verse 3. And he read therein before the street that was before the water gate from the morning until midday, before the men and the women and those that could understand, and the ears of all the people were attentive unto the book of the law. See that? So it says where did he read? In the street, right? He read therein before the street. So he was out there, they're not in no church building like Creeplo Dollar and TD Snakes, right? And Joel Osteen, right? Joel No Spleen. But anyway, so he read out in the book of the law from morning until midday. Right? So that's a lot of breaking bread right there. But anyway, yeah, that's the 7th month. Next one. This prophet Hananiah, right? Long story short, you could go and read this for yourself, but basically the prophet Hananiah was a false prophet, and he was prophesying lies, whereas Jeremiah was prophesying the truth through the Spirit. So I'm just going to get to the point. Jeremiah 28:17. So Hananiah, the prophet, died the same year in the 7th month, right? So Hananiah died. Mosai took him out in the 7th month, right? So you could go back and read this for yourself. This is a good chapter right here. It's only about 17 verses, but it's a good chapter. I'll give you an example of that false prophet, how these false prophets speak smooth words, right? And prophesy deceits, and the people love to have it so. Right? Now you go in the book of Haggai, chapter 2 and verse 1, it says, in the 7th month, in the 120th Salakia. Now you go to the book of Haggai 2 and 1, and it reads, in the 7th month, in the 120th day of the month came the word of the Lord by the prophet Haggai, saying, so in the 7th month and the 21st day of that month, the word of the Lord came to the prophet Haggai, right? And then it goes on. I'll read down a couple more verses. Speak now to Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and to Joshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest, and to the residue of the people, saying, who is left among you that saw this house in her first glory? And how do ye see it now? Is it not in your eyes in comparison of it as nothing, right? Talking about what? The house of the Lord. Okay, because it was destroyed. All right. But yeah, you can read that yourself. I don't want to make this too long-winded. Yeah, there's a lot more other scriptures dealing with 7th month, because we have the high holy days. We got Feast of Trumpets. We got Day of Atonement. We got Feast of Tabernacle, and I'll go over those individually as they come within the 7th month and bring up the precepts, and we'll see the significance of these high holy days. But yeah, that's it with this video. I'm gonna give a hearty shalom to the brothers and sisters out there striving for this truth, striving for the truth unto death, death and destruction to America, and peace and blessings to Israel. All right, so shalom till the next video.